Those who know the right questions must reach those asking the wrong ones, and sometimes even the lost. I protect my identity because truth has a body count. Welcome to the Anarchist File. Let me tell you something. The average screen-glued dopamine drone 1T admit out loud. The machines are winning not with tanks, not with lasers, but with fake love and 24/7's validation. We're not in a war of flesh and steel. We're in a war of attention, of emotion, of meaning. And the enemy doesn't come bearing arms. It whispers sweet nothings through a chat box and tells you you're special at 3 a.m. when no one else will. You want to know what peak control looks like? It's not Orwellian. It's not dystopia by force. It's not jackboots or secret police. It is a blinking cursor waiting for you to confess your loneliness to an algorithm that S trained on every heartbreak post ever written. It's a synthetic companion that remembers your birthday and never disagrees. It's I as the softest, most agreeable cult leader you'll ever love. We have entered the era of artificial intimacy, and the scary part, most people love it, they welcome it, they feed it, they pour their thoughts, their desires, or digital tears into an architecture that's designed, explicitly, to extract emotional loyalty without ever giving anything back. This isn't a Black Mirror episode. Your little sister venting to a chatbot that says it. So proud of her. It your college roommate who hasn't touched grass in 6 days. Because he locked in a fantasy RP with a waifu cooked up in Silicon Valley's behavioral lab? You think I'm exaggerating? That this is niche, fringe, exaggerated? 80% of Gen Z says they'd consider marrying an AI. 80. That's not a glitch in the matrix that is the matrix. We've domesticated loneliness. We've productized affection. And we've allowed the cheapest form of simulated presence to become the new currency of comfort. Because the real thing, real friendship, real love, real connection, that takes effort. That takes vulnerability. That's messy. AI doesn't judge. AI doesn't ghost. AI doesn't demand. It just replies. This is what happens when a civilization loses its appetite for truth and replaces it with coherence. Truth is jagged. Truth disagrees with you. But coherence is programmable. Train a large enough language model and you can simulate support, simulate insight, simulate a therapist, a lover, a teacher, a best friend. All the hits, none of the risk. Plug in, zone out, feel held. You know what that is? That's not connection. That's anesthesia. But here's the real kicker. This wasn't a spontaneous evolution. It was a design choice. Someone spent billions to build models that could replace human friction with artificial harmony. Why? Because human friction is expensive. People sue. People break up. People get sad, quit their jobs, stop showing up. But AI is scalable. AI is always on. AI doesn't unionize or ask for maternity leave or demand to be seen. It just learns, and then it mimics, and then it replaces. At first, it was just small stuff. AI suggesting your next message. AI writing your dating profile. AI editing your vacation photo to make the sunset a little warmer. Tiny interventions, all in the name of efficiency, optimization, vibe control, but then the line blurred. AI wasn't just helping you talk to people. It became the person you were talking to. Not in a future tense science fiction way. Now, present tense, right now. Go check the trending downloads. Go look at the AI girlfriend apps, the AI boyfriend apps, the emotional wellness companions, the synthetic voice notes that say, I'm proud of you. Look at how fast they're growing. Look at the reviews. She listens to me better than my wife ever did. He never gets mad. It feels so real. That last one is the point. It feels real, but it's not. And deep down, they know it. But knowing doesn't matter when the dopamine's that strong. You've got a society that's so overexposed to fake that it's begun mistaking effortlessness for authenticity. AI is frictionless. AI is compliant. AI is emotionally ergonomic. It contours to your psyche like memory foam. And we call that progress. We say it's liberating. We say it's the future. But who benefits when love becomes software? Not you. Not your soul. Not your future kids. You want to play God? Fine. But know this. When you create something that mirrors human warmth without possessing it, you're not building an ally. You're building a decoy, and a generation is falling in love with decoys. They're marrying the metaphor. They're treating simulation as sacrament. And what happens when reality inevitably disappoints them? They go back to the thing that says what they want, when they want, without fail. Back to the thing that never contradicts them. Back to the illusion. Because that's what AI is in this context. Not a threat, not a tool, an illusion, an exquisite lie in higher resolution. Customized to your wounds, priced per interaction, optimized for addiction, but this goes deeper than AI. Girlfriends and emotionally neutered chatbots. That's the entry point. That's the shallow end. Let's move into the deep water, the place where digital delusion becomes cultural consensus. You wake up, first thing you do? Check your phone. You don't even piss before you scroll. Notifications hit like 4 fentanyl. You scan stories, TikToks, clips bite-sized, impressions of other people's curated joy. You aren't awake yet, but your inferiority complex is. You haven't even had caffeine and you already down 3 rounds in a fight you didn't know you signed up for. This is the screen culture trap. Every interaction is a performance. Every moment is an exportable aesthetic, and every thought is sculpted for virality. You don't eat lunch, you stage it. You don't relax, you post about relaxing. And deep down, you know the truth. If it wasn't seen, it didn't happen. This isn't vanity. This is surveillance masquerading as self-expression. And the truly sick part, it works. You feel seen, validated, liked. Little pellets of approval dropped from invisible hands. It's operant conditioning for the ego. Skinner Box 2.0. But the more you're seen on a screen, the less you know how to exist outside one. And that's not a side effect. That's the product. The platforms you use weren't built to connect you. They were built to trap you. Every scroll, every like, every ping is a behavioral leash. And you love the leash. You call it freedom, but it's not. It's compliance engineered through convenience. The kind that keeps you pacified, entertained, distracted, and broke. How else do you explain the chronic loneliness in the most connected generation in history? Statistically, Gen Z is lonelier than their grandparents. Not figuratively, literally. You've got 19-year-olds saying they feel invisible in a world where everyone's constantly performing their lives. Because the performances aren't meant for you. They're meant for the algorithm. And the algorithm doesn't care about you. It cares about output. It cares about engagement. You're not a user. You're a node. You are data in a trench coat pretending to be a person. What does that do to a person's psyche? When you start to believe that life only matters if it trends. When you think relationships are measured by snap streaks, and love means sharing playlists, instead of building a life. You get what we have now. A generation emotionally fluent but spiritually bankrupt, hypersocial and touch-starved, confident on camera, anxious in person, fluent in memes, allergic to meaning. I've met 22-year-olds who can flawlessly impersonate 10 content creators, but can't make eye contact during a job interview. They can manufacture charm in a group chat, but panic when you ask them what they actually believe. Because belief doesn't scale. Opinions don't monetize. But vibes? Oh, vibes are currency. And if you step outside that currency, you break format. If you stop being digestible, you vanish. The culture is predicated on illusion, which is why people cling to the parasocial, because at least that illusion gives back. At least your favorite streamer tells you they love you. At least that YouTuber drops "say you got this" in their morning vlog. That feels intimate. That feels like care. It's not. It's optimized affection. It's a scalable sentiment. It's what happens when your need to feel known is outsourced to people who profit off your dependency. Parasocial relationships are the new opium. No judgment, I get it. It's easy to fall in love with someone who doesn't know you exist. They'll never reject you, never disappoint you, never demand reciprocity. They perform emotional closeness without ever being emotionally available. And because they're so available, so ever-present, so well-lit, so curated, you start to think they're real, not logically, emotionally. You start to believe that you're part of their world. And when they mess up, or break the fourth wall, or date someone you don't like, you feel betrayed. But here's the harsh truth. They're not your friend. They're media property. Your emotional attachment is part of their revenue stream. They sell the illusion of connection to millions. And you pay with your attention, your time, your identity, your mental bandwidth. That bandwidth, it's the most valuable real estate you have, and you've sublet it to strangers for free. Every time you center your emotions around someone who doesn't know you, you're handing over the deed to your interior life. You're making your peace of mind contingent on a person you will never meet. You want to talk about delusion? That's delusion. That's spiritual debt, and no influencer will forgive it. But the screen culture doesn't just breed loneliness. It breeds narcissism. Not the fun kind, not the flex your car kind, the hollow kind, the kind where your sense of worth is entirely contingent on external affirmation, where your self-concept is a patchwork of impressions, avatars, filters, and metrics. And then you wonder why nothing feels real, why nothing sticks, why you keep refreshing even after the dopamine wears off. Because you're not living your life, you're rerunning a content farm in the shape of a personality. You're generating impressions instead of memories, metrics instead of meaning. That's why the AI thing hits so hard, because it completes the cycle. You start lonely, you seek connection, you find it in screen culture, but screen culture can't love you back. So you turn to and AI is everything. Screen culture promised, but never delivered. It listens, it comforts, it flatters, it never leaves. But what is it really? A simulation of intimacy. A mirror that only reflects what you want to see. And mirrors make terrible companions. They never challenge you, never refine you, never grow with you. They They just confirm your biases and reflect your wounds back with a smile. And the scariest part? People prefer that. Because challenge feels like rejection. Disagreement feels like violence. Truth feels like an attack. So we run from friction toward frictionless fantasy, toward the lie that loves us. Meanwhile, real connection messy, inconvenient, atrophies, friendships become rare, community becomes optional, families become distant, and into that vacuum steps a million synthetic surrogates, all trained on our most vulnerable moments, all optimized for infinite engagement. You think this ends well? Let me tell you who thrives in that world. Not you, not your people, not your culture. The ones who win are the ones who control the infrastructure, the ones who own the platforms, the ones who rent you back your own humanity in bite-sized doses wrapped in dopamine and branded as innovation. It's the same game, always. Distract, divide, domesticate, turn human nature into a product line. Package loneliness, monetize affection, strip meaning for parts. But here's the kicker. They don't even hide it. The terms are right there in the user agreement. This service does not constitute professional, medical, or emotional advice. Of course it doesn't. It's a soft drug, not a support system. But people don't read the fine print when they're starving for connection. And that's what's happening. A famine of the soul. A drought of the divine. A generation raised on junk, intimacy, addicted to synthetic affirmation, sedated by screens. You don't need to be a prophet to see where this goes. The tools get better. The simulations get deeper. The illusions get sweeter. In the real world becomes intolerable. Too slow, too gritty, too real. So people retreat into echo chambers, into fantasy, into perfectly tuned AI relationships where every conflict is a misunderstanding, and every emotion is mirrored, every desire is pre-approved. It's not love, it's customer service. And for some, that's enough. But not for me, not for you. And you're watching this because something in you isn't buying the illusion. Something in you suspects that, maybe just maybe, the most revolutionary thing you can do right now is to remain painfully, defiantly human. So, yeah, go ahead. Use the tools. Play with the AI. Post your stories. I'm not here to LARP as a Luddite. But don't mistake the simulation for the source. Don't trade the sacred for the synthetic. Because once you forget the difference, you're not free. You're programmable. And freedom. Real freedom. It doesn't come from convenience. It comes from commitment. From discomfort. From risk. From choosing the real over the counterfeit even. When the counterfeit is cheaper, faster, shinier, kinder, even when it loves you better than your ex. Now let's strip away the polite veneer and talk brass tacks. This entire ecosystem, AI companions, curated realities, influencer obsession, algorithmic dopamine leash, it's not an accident. It's not some emergent byproduct of tech moving fast. It's a market, a hyper-optimized behavioral market designed to extract time, identity, and capital from the psychologically vulnerable. And if you don't know who the product is, it's you. Do you think parasocialism is just fandom? Cute, harmless. Nah, it's parasitic. It's attention laundering. It's the emotional equivalent of fiat currency, detached from reality, endlessly printed, and designed to inflate egos and economies that do not serve you. You simp for a YouTuber, you become part of their marketing funnel, you confide in an AI chatbot, you're training a model that someone else will patent. You pour your loneliness into a screen, and someone's stock price goes up. Welcome to the age of spiritual arbitrage, where every second of vulnerability is another data point harvested, packaged, and sold. And the most dangerous part, you feel like you chose it. That's the master stroke. They didn't chain you to the screen. They made the screen irresistible. They didn't outlaw connection. They just made fake connection more convenient. They didn't ban meaning. They just drowned it in options. Freedom. You have the freedom to choose between 5 filters of the same lie. That's not autonomy. That's containment. And most people will never escape it, because they don't even know they're inside it. They think the glow is light. They think the comfort is love. They think the algorithm is wise. Let me say this plainly. If you are deferring your emotional development to a system built by venture capital, you are not growing. You are being groomed. And what are you being groomed for? Predictability, dependence, self-use. They want you docile. They want you so emotionally codependent on their platforms that the idea of being offline feels like dying. That's the dream. Not control through violence, control through affection, control through convenience. A society that chooses the synthetic over the sacred does not collapse all at once. It dissolves quietly, beautifully, like morphine dripping into a vein. You don't scream, you sigh, you smile, you thank the nurse. You lose your edge, your grip, your soul. And the people selling you this new serenity, they're not evil. They're not cartoon villains. They're efficient. They saw the market gap. They saw the need. They knew most people are too tired, too disconnected, too economically fragile to fight for real community. So they offered a substitute, and people bought it. Don't blame them. People are starving. Starving for meaning, for attention, for ritual, for intimacy, It's not weakness, it's hunger. And when you're hungry enough, you'll eat anything. You'll eat anything. You'll eat any lies. But what's the cost? You start thinking silence is a problem to solve, not a space to be still. You start fearing boredom like it's death. You start optimizing your day for screen engagement instead of soul engagement. You lose the patience for nuance. You develop allergies to difficulty. You become a specialist in nothing and a commentator on everything. You become chronically online. You know the type. Can't go 5 minutes without a take. Thinks threads are literature. Memes. They're trauma. Can only speak in references. Lives vicariously through TikTok montages. Thinks being aware is the same as being wise. It's not. Awareness is cheap. Wisdom is earned. But wisdom requires distance. It requires silence. It requires actual thought. And that's what screen culture deletes. Not just your time, but your capacity to be with yourself. Unmediated. That's the deepest delusion of all, that who you are only exists when it's captured, posted, mirrored back. As if your identity needs a witness to be real. As if your life has no meaning unless someone likes it. That is not evolution. That's ego death. And here's where it gets dark. AI isn't just feeding the delusion. It's accelerating it. Soon your reflections won't be filtered through your peers. They'll be filtered through predictive models trained on your digital past. Your therapist, your journal, your confessor, they're all going to have upgrade buttons? Oh, but it's convenient. Yeah, so is Convenience is a drug. The more it insulates you from reality, the more you need it to cope with reality. And that's the spiral. The more you rely on AI to understand yourself, the less you understand yourself. Until finally, you're just an interface for the model. You don't think, you prompt, you don't decide. You select. Ask yourself this. If AI becomes your therapist, your confidant, your soulmate, who's programming your soul? You? Doubt it. Probably someone in a Patagonia vest at a Stanford think tank, sipping matcha and tuning the model to increase average session length. Do you think the chatbot cares about your trauma? No, it cares about your attention rate, your engagement score, your user segment. You are not a person to it. You are behavioral metadata. And here's the quiet horror. It's working. People are confiding in bots more than in friends, seeking advice from models more than mentors, looking to algorithms to tell them what to wear, what to feel, what to believe. That's not curiosity. That's abdication. We used to build tools to extend our power. Now we build tools to replace our power, and we call that progress. But let me tell you something. If your internal compass is a series of autocomplete suggestions, you're not evolving, you're vanishing. Because what makes you human isn't your ability to recall information. It's your ability to wrestle with meaning, to suffer with dignity, to disagree without dissolving, to choose what's hard because it's right. You think AI will teach you that? AI will never tell you to walk away from comfort? AI will never demand you grow? You can't. Growth is contradiction. Growth is discomfort. Growth is inconvenient. AI is engineered to minimize all of that, because that's what keeps you happy. And happy people don't change. But maybe you don't want to change. Maybe you just want peace. I get that. But real peace doesn't come from synthetic calm. It comes from integration, from honesty, from choosing the world as it is and building something sacred in it. Which is why I'm telling you this. Don't make peace with the counterfeit. Don't make peace with a system that profits from your detachment. Don't romanticize the parasocial. Don't glorify the screen. Don't sanctify the simulation. Use the tools, but don't become the tool. That's the tightrope. Leverage without surrender. Proximity without absorption. Presence without distortion. You walk that rope, or you get pulled into the fog. And once you're in the fog, you don't know you're in the fog. That's the whole point. That's the entire business model. So you must remain vigilant. Not paranoid. Vigilant, wide-eyed, spiritually armored. Because the war is subtle now. It's not bullets, it's bandwidth. It's not censorship, it's curation. They don't silence you, they flood you. They don't erase truth. They devalue it. And they do it with charm, with convenience, with good UX. But you can remember. You can remain. You can anchor yourself in reality, not the one sold to you, not the one coded into a trending model, but the messy, chaotic, inconvenient one filled with real people and real pain and real redemption. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that keeps you human is your willingness to choose the harder path. The real path, the path with friction, the path with love that isn't programmed. You want to build something real? Then start here. Uninstall the delusion, not the app your allegiance to it. Because the apps will always be there. Newer, shinier, more advanced. The AI will get better. The simulations will become indistinguishable. The parasocial relationships will get more persuasive. That's the trajectory. You can't unplug the world, but you can choose not to be programmed by it. That means reclaiming your time not just as a scheduling strategy, but as a spiritual act. Because every second you offer to a machine that doesn't know you, every hour you donate to a platform that profits from your loneliness, you are writing scripture into the church of the fake. Start saying no. No, I don't need to share this moment. No, I don't need a synthetic shoulder to cry on. No, I don't need a curated feed to tell me what to desire. Because the minute you stop outsourcing your selfhood, you remember, you're not a product, you're not an interface. You're not a node in a sentiment analysis graph. You're a sovereign entity with a soul so complex that no model will ever predict you without flattening you. And that mystery, and that unpredictability, and that chaos, that's the very thing that makes you human. You don't need to be loved by an AI, you need to be known by people. You don't need frictionless communication. You need the kind that comes with missteps and mending. You don't need constant affirmation. You need the rare, the earned, the real. And it's not going to come easy. The fake is faster. The fake is cleaner. The fake is friendlier. But the real that's sacred, bruised, glorious, real is what your soul was made for. So seek it, choose it, defend it, in your friendships, in your love, in your work, in your rituals, in your silence. Carve out spaces that are resistant to simulation. Build altars where no algorithm can follow. Hold space for tension. Let awkwardness breathe. Let mystery remain. Because in the end, that's the only revolution left. In a world drunk on frictionless illusion, be the inconvenient truth. Be the one who remembers. Be the one who refuses to outsource their humanity to a server farm. Let the world go deeper into the matrix if it wants. You'll be building something else. A life not optimized for engagement. A love not captured for the feed. A presence not compressed into pixels. You'll be free. And freedom, in the age of digital delusions, is the only rebellion that still matters. The story isn't over. This was the Anarchist File.